Hey students, welcome to another Mr. Ness screencast. Today's aim is the Mexican-American War and the Gold Rush. And here are your objectives. Please pause the video, look these questions over, and get ready to copy some vocab and take some notes. This map shows some major events in westward expansion, and you've already learned about the first one, the Louisiana Purchase. That's all this land in yellow that was bought from France. Today, you're going to learn about two more events in westward expansion, and they both involve Mexico. So let's start by talking for a second about Mexican history. Just like the US had once been a colony of England, Mexico had once been a colony of Spain. And just like the US had fought a revolution against England to gain their independence, the Mexicans, starting in 1810, fought their own revolution to gain independence from Spain. You might remember from global history learning about revolutions that happened all across Latin America in the early 1800s. A lot of colonies in that region fought for and won their independence from European countries at this time, and Mexico was one of them. Let's go back to this map. I said that the next two events on this map involve Mexico. Unlike the Louisiana Purchase, in which the French sold land to the US, these next two events both involve the US taking land by force. Let's look at the first one, the Annexation of Texas, which happened in 1845. And now, let's learn a little Texas history. You might remember from earlier in this unit that Texas, which is this area of land here, once belonged to Mexico. But starting in the 1820s, several hundred American families left their homes in southern states and moved into Texas. We call these American settlers Texians. Remember, Texas was part of Mexico at this time, and at first, the Mexican government tolerated the Texians. But over time, tensions increased. An important reason for that was that, unlike the US, Mexico did not allow slavery. But many of the Texians were Southerners who brought slaves with them when they moved into Texas. In 1835, the Texians went to war with Mexico, and this war is called the Texas Revolution. The Texians won. You might have heard of the Battle of the Alamo. That was one famous battle during this war. After the Texans won the Texas Revolution, they declared independence and formed their own country, which was called the Republic of Texas. For almost 10 years, Texas was its own country. But then in 1845, after 10 years of independence, the Republic of Texas decided that they wanted to join the U.S. The U.S. annexed Texas, and it became a new state, a new slave state. Northerners were furious. In their eyes, the Texans were just slave owners stealing land that they could turn into new slave states. So the annexation of Texas made sectional tensions a lot worse. Okay, the next event on the map is the Mexican-American War, and it happened right after the annexation of Texas. The US president at the time of the annexation of Texas was this man, James Polk. Polk favored Western expansion and even believed in using force to gain new land. In 1846, he sent US soldiers to the border with Mexico in order to provoke a conflict with them. And when Mexican troops attacked the soldiers, the US declared war. This war is called the Mexican-American War. It was fought from 1846 to 1848, right after the annexation of Texas. The war lasted for 2 years, and the Americans won. As part of the surrender, Mexico had to give up a huge chunk of its land, which is called the Mexican Cession. Take a look at this map again. Here's Texas, which was annexed in 1845. And here is the Mexican Cession, all this orange land west of the Rio Grande River. This land the US got in 1848 when the Mexican-American War ended. For the United States, the Mexican-American War made Manifest Destiny a reality. They now controlled land from the Atlantic Ocean all the way across North America to the Pacific. But just like the annexation of Texas, the Mexican-American War created more sectional tension. Southerners supported the war more than Northerners did, and abolitionists, people that wanted to end slavery, were strongly against the war. The Mexican cession added a lot more land to the U.S., and as they had done before, Northerners and Southerners continued to argue about whether slavery would be allowed in these new lands. One of the new lands that was added was called California. California is this most western part of the Mexican cession. It borders the Pacific Ocean. In 1849, just a year after the U.S. got all this land, an American settler discovered gold in California. And this led to a huge influx of settlers very quickly. We call this event the Gold Rush, the influx of 300,000 people to California after the discovery of gold in 1849. People who went to California looking for gold were called 49ers because the gold rush started in 1849. The gold rush caused California to grow quickly, and in just 1 year, California had enough people to apply for statehood. California's statehood renewed tensions between the North and the South. When it became a state in 1850, a whole new compromise about slavery had to be worked out. It was an important step on the road to the Civil War. We will come back to that issue in our next unit. Let's look at some pictures of the gold rush. Here are some 49ers mining for gold. 49ers were pretty much all men, mostly white Americans from the East who had come to seek their fortune. Most of them did not find enough gold to get rich, but a few did get wealthy by starting their own businesses in California and selling supplies to the miners. Many Chinese immigrants also found work in California at this time, as this picture shows. We will look more at Chinese immigrants in the West in the next lesson. Lastly, San Francisco, California became a major city during the gold rush and the center of Chinese immigration. Here's a picture of San Francisco's bustling harbor in the 1850s. The San Francisco football team today is called the 49ers, as a way to commemorate the city's role in the gold rush. All right, it's time to review the objectives. If you don't know the answer to any of them, rewind the video and look again. I will see you in class. Bye, students.